I want the bets from Betting Weekly, because we win, that is our motto. Sometimes we win, sometimes we don't win. Don't give us the bird, don't give us your stink eye. We try our best and we're successful. Come watch our show. Bet Rivers sponsors. It's time to start. Enjoy the show.
Welcome along to Betting Weekly Live. You're with Dan Roebuck alongside me, Will White. Over the course of the next 40 minutes or so, we're going to be talking soccer. We have got Champions League qualifiers to consider getting serious now because of the draw for the league phase in terms of which teams play which is on Thursday. So these are second legs we're going to tackle, and also League Cup football, a smattering of League Cup. Always difficult, given the fact that all the big teams and most of the smaller the teams rotate as well. But we've got a few potential angles in on that as well. Well, a very good day to you. Obviously, first port of call before we get into today. I mean, a crazy game last night, the Newcastle-Liverpool game in the Premier League. It actually resulted in the second biggest loss for Bet Rivers Sportsbook yesterday, incidentally, and it was the fourth most wagered on event yesterday. So it was huge world over, especially stateside and obviously in the UK as well. What did you make of it all? Were you across it? Were you trading it? Did you have bets? I suspect that, the betting public came out on top.
Yeah, absolutely. Good day to you, Dan, and good day to everyone out there. What a game last night. I'm not surprised Bet Rivers took a loss on it, and it was definitely one for the punters. Can imagine most punters were certainly on overs goals. Pretty much every line copped there with the late goal, and then probably majority on Liverpool. Draws don't tend to be punted much by punters. And so, yeah, that last-ditch goal would have hurt most sports books, I think. For me personally, I was on Newcastle plus a half, so gutted with that. I was on over 2.5 in running, so I kind of won that early in the second half. So a break-even day for me, but a good game. And actually, I think I was talking to a Liverpool fan mate of mine, and I was saying to him, I actually don't think this is a good result for Liverpool, because I think, Slot's been talking about the fact that they don't necessarily need to strengthen in the window, whereas I think they really do need to. If you look at their squad depth versus Arsenal, for example, I think they do need to go all out to get Alexander Isak in, and probably a defender of the likes of Guehi or somebody else that's, really going to be up. They look really vulnerable at the back, don't they?
Look, I mean, they've conceded 2 goals times 2, haven't they? I mean, one thing that Arne Slot said, he said that, look, even last season he felt his side was vulnerable, and he wanted to make sure that his side could score more than the opposition at a base level, because he knew that his side couldn't keep on winning 1-0, 2-1 by these one goal margins. But I'm not quite sure he's really addressed the issue, because it just seems wild and chaotic. I mean, fair play to Newcastle, 10 men to come back to 2-2, and it was a real dagger through the heart, wasn't it, of Eddie Howe and his team when that late goal scored. Great little dummy by Jobislai and Ngamoha, who was on Chelsea's books, with a really good finish, for a composed finisher, a youngster. I mean, Bet Rivers make Liverpool and Arsenal plus 175 joint favourites for the Premier League, Will. About right for you? You think it should be joint jollies?
I'd have Arsenal favourites. I thought they should be favourites pre-season, which was, not the conventional kind of take, but they've strengthened since then with bringing in Eze. Liverpool haven't, and Wirtz has not had a good start to the season. I think we've got to be careful not knee-jerking so early. I know Nigel would definitely say that, but totally agree. We need to be careful not to knee-jerk so early. But Liverpool, to me, all the headlines were about how they'd strengthened over the summer, but, they also lost a lot in Luis Diaz and Nunez and Jota, obviously. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think they can afford to rest easy for the next 6 days or whatever it is of the transfer window. Is it 6 days, Dan? Are we done?
Don't they push into the Monday for the
Monday? Okay.
I think I'm not 100% to be honest. It seems to be a real movable feast when it comes to whether it's midnight on the actual 31st or they roll it onto the Monday and they put a 5 o'clock one. So I'm not 100% certain to be honest, but they're going to have to be fairly quick. I would imagine. I thought you were going to reference the game on Sunday because Liverpool are plus 110 favourites against Arsenal. There might be a little bit. Do you think they might be a little bit closer to get? I mean, Liverpool will be favourites for sure at Anfield. Might be a little bit closer come kick-off.
I mean, that's just the home advantage, right? It's the only reason why Liverpool are favourites. Arsenal have Saka and Odegaard semi-questionable. Liverpool,
I think they'll be out. Saka for sure.
Yeah. So if Saka and Odegaard were fit, I'd be all over Arsenal, but it looks like Saka might not be. So, yeah, it's going to be all about team news, really.
Yeah, which is League Cup, which we're going to talk about tonight as well. It's all about team news as well. Welcome in, one and all. Lots of messages already. Hope everyone had a good Monday. Hope everyone was on the right side of that result last night. I can't quite get the top comment here. Was it... It's not Ray. I can't quite say it. I don't know why, but my who is it? He's talking about betting against Celtic. I'll have to try and find it. Anyway, big bets on the Newcastle game. Just run through some of these. Always find them interesting. $12,000 play. Oh, there we go. It's from Rick. Morning all. My dead Scottish grandmother will roll over in a great day. I'm betting against Celtic. We'll see if Will is. Very shortly. We're going to tackle that game first. $12,000 play on Newcastle live draw no bet minus 122. Oh, that is unlucky on that one to a certain extent. $7,500 play on Liverpool on the money line plus 117 a winner. $1,000 play on Liverpool on the money line and winner. Lots of small bets, lots of 3-figure bets on Liverpool on the money line. $40 play 3-2 correct score at plus 1,400. Well done to that particular customer. And lots of big bets across world soccer. The corner man from South America has been at it again. I don't know if you've been on when I've been rattling through some of these corner plays, Will. Near $40,000 play on Lanús versus River Plate, live over 8.5 corners at minus 167. That's the sort of weight of cash you'd put on for a corners bet.
I'm not going to answer that, but did he win?
He did win. And also $19,000 play on Lanús River Plate over 9.5 corners. He's been laddering the corners, but not for chump change. That's for sure. A loser on Salzburg. Good winner on Athletic Club as well. Lots of good winning bets over the course of the last 24 hours. Make sure you log on to your BetRivers app or betrivers.com account each week to receive a soccer profit boost pack consisting of a live bet profit boost and a parlay profit boost. Head to the app or the website for full details. In terms of the streams that we've got for you, 19 EFL Cup games. If you've got a BetRivers account, you can watch pretty much anything you like when it comes to the League Cup. Some good ties as well tonight. 3 Swiss Challenger League games. There's also some Romanian Cup, Austrian Cup, Swiss League, and indeed basketball America Cup action as well. All streamed live. An awful lot to enjoy. Ian says, good morning. Unders in the Celtic match. Duncan says afternoon. Barrick says, I like Kairat +1. Byron morning. Villa fan, hi Dan and Will. Villa fan says, I feel like we need to fade Celtic tonight. Hashtag tough place to go. Steve says, morning guys. He says, afternoon both. Hetafe did me nicely. Gutted I didn't bet on the cards or the goals in the Newcastle pool game. Yeah, Hetafe won at Sevilla. Sevilla are interesting with Almeida in charge. Are you across... Almeida can be a bit of a random manager. I don't know if you've dipped into La Liga, Will, thus far this season. Not quite sure it's going to work out for him at Sevilla. Yeah,
I do look at La Liga and don't really rate Sevilla, to be honest with you. And Hetafe have just got an aura about them, haven't they, with Dejene, and obviously Uche looks like he's going to be moving on, though, but they're just completely decimated squad. Finding it hard to register any sort of new signings. But yet they're able to grind these results out, and I think they just have a spirit about them that Sevilla don't currently have. Sevilla. Kind of high on Getafe and a bit low on Sevilla, but I'm sure the markets will adjust and Getafe losing Uche, if they do, will be massive.
Ray says, good morning, Dan and Will. Catalao says that Gordon tackle was ridiculous. No need. Ree says, lads, good morning, Tristan. Took Getafe money line and over 2.5. Reese also talking about bad result at Liverpool, but they won. Yeah, it's a strange one. Zolo Ahe says, buenos dias, senores. What else we got? Byron says, replying to one of two of our commenters here. Real Brendan King says, can we get Will's quick thoughts on Barca? Coming back from 2-0 down, was that just a blip? Anything to be concerned about? Or did it show good resilience from Barcelona? I mean, they're now about -130 to win La Liga, having been second favourites at the start of the season. But 2 wins from 2, but a wild game at the weekend, Will.
Yeah, I don't really know what to think about Barca. I'm kind of putting it in the don't want to knee-jerk baskets. I still think they should be favourites to win the league. But yeah, there are vulnerabilities there. There were vulnerabilities last season. They're the same kind of vulnerabilities. I'm a bit concerned about Lamine Yamal, kind of not attitude, but just there's a lot of kind of media around him, and it might be going a little bit to his head. A little bit concerned about that, but still think they should be favourites.
Interesting one. Rashford started, didn't he, and then came off, and Barcelona.
Yeah, not sure about Rashford either, but
yeah, I don't think that's a good fit. But I understand why they might have taken a chance from him. He does he can give the other 3 a little bit of a break, can't he? I guess he can play. Well, I guess we'll see if he can play in La Liga in any of those top 3 positions. But I think that was maybe what they were thinking. Byron says, yes, Seville got 9 new players. Going to take a little bit of time. Loves Bianca Andrescu says, no shot on goal for Liverpool between the second and third goal in the second half with a man up, by the way. Yeah, that was an odd one, wasn't it? And Bulu Charge says, yeah, once I saw the red card, I knew we were done with. Barca's core belief is that they'll just outscore anybody, anywhere, anytime, says Tristan. Maybe, but I'm never quite sure that's the best way to build a title-winning side. There'll be plenty of you saying, just get to the picks. Just stop going on about nonsense. Can I just have some picks from Will? Kairat versus Celtic, we're going to take a look at first up. Oh, this is a mad one, Will, isn't it? Look, Celtic have been bet a little bit. They're -200. Kairat at +460. The tie +325. 0-0, first leg in Glasgow. Expected goals, first leg in Glasgow, 0.56 to 0.55. Celtic had 75% possession, 1 big chance each, according to the stats that I was looking at here. I really want to fade Celtic here, Will. I really want to get with Kairat. 3,500 miles or whatever it is. Should we be getting with Kairat here? Kairat to go through +240 or +1 on an Asian line here. Give us your sort of general thoughts first on this one. We can't be betting Celtic at -200, can we? We just can't be.
No, I don't think so. I think I was the only person on the planet on Kairat +2.5 last week. That's when it was unfashionable and uncomfortable, and now it's getting a Kairat +1 or getting.
We're all jumping on the bandwagon now, Will. Is that what it is?
Well, it's kind of the opposite. I feel like the chat's jumping on the bandwagon, and that might be the time to get off. But but I got to stick with my feeling, and my feeling is that Celtic are too short here. I wanted to get on Kairat +1. It is a long way to travel, and Celtic aren't the strongest travellers. But I've got this thing, Dan. I don't know if you've been watching my shows with Steve, but I've got this thing about looking at stadiums and figuring out how far away from the pitch the fans are going to be.
Okay.
If you read about the construction of Everton's new stadium, the engineers purposefully built the stands at the maximum angle allowed, 35 degrees.
Yeah.
And to create this atmosphere, and it does add to your home advantage. And Kairat and the kind of old school, I guess, old school kind of stadiums with the Olympic running tracks around them, and the stands kind of not going out at much of an angle, and not really being on top of the players. That does detract from the home advantage, and so I don't think it's going to be particularly intimidating atmosphere. Yeah, it's a long way to go, Aside from that, Dastan Satpayev,
He's the big
17-year-old
miss, isn't he?
wonder kid. Yeah, he's out for Kairat. He's suspended. Evidently, Chelsea are interested in him. So
They've signed him.
they've signed him, have they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He will be going in the summer.
Right. So
From what I've read.
Yeah, he seems to be the standout star player of this side, and he's out, but can't be backing Celtic at these prices. I'm leaning towards unders actually, to under 2 3/4. It's close, or was close to even money.
Mm-hmm.
The 2.5 line there, obviously you've got overs, quite a big favourite, but the 2 3/4 line obviously gives you half insurance on 3 goals. Across the 7 Champions League qualifiers this campaign that Kairat have played, the 7 matches have seen a total of 12 goals. So that's less than 2 a game. I think obviously Celtic are a bit of a step up in competition, but Kairat have shown they can kind of handle that away from home. And I think a line closer to 2.5 is fairer. So I'm leaning under 2.75 at around about even money. I wouldn't put anyone off the Kairat +1, but yeah, I prefer unders as a kind of correlated way in.
I looked at Satpayev and don't know too much about him, but just looked at some of his stats. And he's 17, and he's only just 17. 17 a couple of weeks ago. Looks like he's going to join Chelsea in the summer. So I thought, well, how influential, can he possibly be? Surely I can still get with Kairat here, but all of his stats from the first game were great. He created 3 chances. He was top in terms of passing accuracy, 36 touches, which was only 7 fewer than the guy that had the most touches there. They didn't have a lot of the ball. Scored that penalty against Slovan Bratislava in the last minute. This is a guy who takes responsibility and makes things happen, and it just worries me, like you, that he's not playing. I mean, +1 is a real tempter. But I think you're right in terms. I mean, all the numbers point to sort of unders, and in a way, if we've got it right in terms of, Celtic might just grind this out and might take the lead and might win the game. It might be one where they take a bit of control, score relatively early, and that is it. I don't know. What do you think? Sort of game state wise, there is a scenario where Celtic could win relatively comfortably and we still get the unders, or are we saying that basically saying that Kairat have not got the ability to sort of come back, and it's not going to be one of these seesaw, 3-3s or whatever?
I just think that Kairat are less likely to score without Satpayev. Basically, yes, they could score, but you could still cash on the under 2.75. If you're taking the +1, 2-0 win, which is, I think, more likely than a 3-2 Celtic win, or even maybe a 2-1 Celtic win. I want to keep that on side. Maybe that is the game plan for Celtic. Yeah, I'm sure they'd be very, very happy with a 1-0 and then safely see the rest of the game out.
I mean, they did have most of the ball in the first game. They had 75% possession.
Yeah, but they didn't really create much, did they?
Didn't create a lot. No, didn't create a lot
0.55 XG.
They did not create a lot at all. I think it could be a very similar game, and I think that Celtic could just nick it. I mean, that would be my sort of take it. I think it'll look and it'll feel the same. One or two, talking about some scores. We've only got the Celtic goal scorers here. Maeda anytime +145. I think Ida's or Ida, never quite sure how to say it. I think he is a doubt for the game. I know that the fullback's out. And maybe Austin Trusty as well, centre half. Johnny Kenny there at +185. Nygren is someone that one of the YouTube viewers has put up here. I'll get to the comments in just a second. As maybe as in any time. That's Steve from Lynn, +163. I mean, all the Celtic players are pretty short here. In terms of what you guys have been saying, let's have a look. RZ Jamal. Oh, hang on, I'm talking about Barcelona there. Duncan says not betting Celtic at -200. Byron Kairat +1 -130. Not bad. Michael Taylor says very short odds on Celtic. Not really worth a punt. I do fancy Nygren as an anytime goal scorer. Quite a lot of love for that. Only thing I've played so far, Byron's talking about the Burnley match. What else we've got for this game? Nygren grind out a win. Nish says Celtic will grind out a win. Celtic corners at 5.5, says AZ Flights or AZ Flights. And Katonau says, I think Kairat will park the bus and hope for PKs. I mean, it's sort of possible, isn't it? I wouldn't rule that out. Dave Clark's Celtic -1. So getting fresher odds with Celtic giving the start away. So what we're saying here, unders, Will?
I'll say under 2 3/4. We had a public play, I guess, with the chat and Steve and I on Bodo last week, and that won comfortably. I tried to kind of reverse jinx it and pray to the gambling gods to not let the public play, as they normally do, go under. So we got that one across the line, but it seems like unders and some Kairat handicap are also public plays here. So, we're going to have to pray to the gambling gods again.
Okay. Look, we're all on under 2.75. It's moved from -115 to -122. We will take that. That is Kairat against Celtic. Pafos against Crvena Zvezda we can take a look at next. We've both enjoyed betting and winning, Will, on Pafos this season. I commentated on a couple of the games last season, so it was a little bit of a crossman. I know you enjoy a jaunt to Pafos in your spare time. Crvena Zvezda are -106, Pafos +255, the tie +265. The first leg, which Pafos won, we were both on. None of us were on the show. Will texted me, said, we're on Pafos, aren't we? I said, yep. Thanks for reminding me. 2-1 the first leg to Pafos here. I looked at some of the XG stats, 2.38, 1.85, the model I was looking at, in Red Star's favour, in Crvena Zvezda's favour. They had 26 attempts at goal. They had more attempts at goal than throw-ins, incidentally. Pafos has 14, 3 on target. Neither team played at the weekend. They had their domestic fixtures postponed. Worries me about Pafos at +255, given that maybe they were a little fortunate, but you're still on the Pafos train here, Will.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I mean, the money keeps pouring in for Crvena Zvezda. Not in this game, but in the first leg, money poured in Crvena Zvezda. We got a +1.25 goal handicap on Pafos. I took that. I thought it was way too big. They won the game outright. Probably didn't deserve to win the game. It was quite equal. Maybe Crvena Zvezda edged it. But I just think Crvena Zvezda, they go overrated consistently in European competition. You see the money come for them. I know they're a much bigger name. They've got much more European pedigree. But Pafos, I think Pafos, on the other hand, are consistently underrated. They had some good results in Europe last season. I see this quite similar, actually, to the last round, the Pafos-Dynamo Kiev tie. Pafos also won that kind of away leg, I guess, even though it's on neutral territory. Yeah. They were underdogs for that, big underdogs, and then they were underdogs as well in the home leg, and they won that 2-0. And I think, Kiev and Crvena Zvezda, pretty similar quality teams. Kiev went off -1/4 at Pafos, and now we're seeing Crvena Zvezda -0.5. So market is saying Crvena Zvezda are at least 1/4 of a goal better than Kiev. I don't agree with that. They do have a couple of players back from injury. One very important player, Rade Krunic. But despite that, I quite like Pafos +0.5 here, -118. I've ridden with them. I've ridden with them every match so far this campaign, and quite a lot last season as well. And I've got a little bit of money to give away. So happy to take Pafos again and keep riding on the Pafos bandwagon.
Yeah, look, I mean, they've won all 4 of their games in Europe so far, home and away, and their route has not been straightforward. Maccabi Tel Aviv are not the worst in the world. Dynamo Kiev, as you mentioned, not the worst team in the world. Looking at the rankings here, Pafos are ranked 68 by Opta, Crvena Zvezda 75. I mean, the Opta, if you look at some of the Opta analyst predictions, they're way off in terms of comparing with bookmakers, but, it just goes to show. I mean, I guess it's a lot of those numbers are weighted to what they've done in Europe, and Pafos did well in Europe last season, and they're looking to qualify for the Champions League proper for the first time. I just think Crvena Zvezda have done well away from home. I know Red Imps was an odd one, but they were down to 10 men quite early in that game, but they did win their other away game. Was it against Lech as well? They've sort of been better on their travels a little bit. I want Pafos to get through. You sort of I commentated on them a few times last season that they're sort of they become part. They could become your Cypriot team. The coach is good. He used to be assistant to Unai Emery. He's done a brilliant job there. They're a relatively new team. They're a team that was sort of merged by a couple, I think they've gone about 10 years or so. So it'd be great to see them through. This game at Limassol Stadium, they don't play their home European games at their home ground, but it's not mattered because that's been the case for the last couple of years. So I don't really see that as any sort of issue here. One player I thought might be interesting, he might not start, is Mislav Orsic, who is a former Dinamo Zagreb player. Anybody knows the history of the Yugoslav League, where Dinamo played Zvezda, will know that there is some significant and serious rivalry between those two. If he does start, will more than anyone want to maybe make his mark. He's plus 400. I've seen, not with Bet Rivers but elsewhere, to score at any time. Might be an interesting one if he does start. So Pafos for you, quarter ball start. Will, is that
half
play?
Ball start? Yeah,
half
ball start.
Okay, so you got the draw on side and full. Just to let you know where the money's been going for this one: 60% of the money and 8% of the tickets, or 79% of the tickets on Crvena Zvezda. Most of the money on overs as well. The under 2.5 goals market has hit in 4 of Pafos's last 5 qualifying matches. Both teams to score has hit in Crvena Zvezda's last 4 qualifying matches, and Bruno Duarte has scored a goal in 4 of Crvena Zvezda's last 5 qualifiers. That's the stats we've been handed. Did you have a look at the goal line here? Have you got any sort of view? Does it look about right for you?
I mean, it's market's expecting goals. Is it 3, the main line?
Yes.
I think it's 3, yeah. I mean, the first leg was very high XG. I think it was almost approaching 4. I think
it was just over 4. The stats I've got 2.38, 1.85.
Yeah,
so just over 4. So I mean that was quite significant. But the game state's interesting, and as that stats just said, that Pafos home is generally unders.
Yeah, I think it's high for a reason, because Zvezda lines are generally high, and because of the XG creation in the first leg. I think it's about right, basically. Yeah. Maybe a touch of value on the unders, but definitely not even a lean.
What have we got here? Dave says Red Star over 1.5. Villa fan says, I've got a question for you. Do you think British bettors in general are more likely to back British teams blindly because they arrogantly think teams like Kairat are lesser teams? There's always an element of that, I think, isn't there, Will? I don't know how much it is. I think from a recreational point of view, there's an element. It sometimes gets trotted out a bit lazily. Do you think it's significant? I don't think. Is it significant in moving lines? I don't think it.
I don't think it's significant in moving lines. It might be significant in terms of where the line opens. Like we got Kairat plus 2.5. It just seemed way too big. Kind of if you use sort of like a kind of mathematical like ratings based approach, it should have been around 2.0. And so maybe the books are setting it at 2.5, knowing they're going to attract a lot of money on Celtic. But in terms of like the closing line, no, it's got no significance at all, because the lines basically move based off sharp money and the kind of overall weight of money, and sharps tend to bet as much as they possibly can, and they'll kind of just absorb all of that recreation money, really.
Yeah, they'll hammer.
Yeah.
Just talking about that Villa fan and that Celtic game, I mean, 84% of the money, but 61% of the tickets on Celtic in that game. So, it's not maybe as much as, as you might think if people are just wanting to back Celtic, but it's still Celtic that are being bet, as the price would suggest, and most of the money on overs, incidentally, on that one. What else have we got on the comments? What about Celtic and under 3.5 at plus 137? Celtic under 3.5?
Yeah, I saw that Shalow's comment. It was big odds against as well, plus 137. Yeah, quite like that. If you like Celtic, they're going to,
that's the way to do it.
A narrow victory. Yeah, if you pair it with the under 3.5, you can get that sort of price. Plus 137. Yeah, that looks quite attractive. Yeah.
Dave talking about the stadium has a track around it, as Will was pointing out. One thing I would say, it's a sellout. I know it's a sellout. I think there's only a couple of hundred Celtic fans there, but the rest, it would be 23,000. I mean, they only get about 5,000 or 6,000 to league games, but the European games are generally full, so it'd be a good atmosphere. It's being played at 9:45 local, because it's quite hot, sort of early evening, so it's quite late. I mean, that's probably for TV audience as well, I would have thought. What else have we got on the comments. Yeah,
Sturm Graz.
Yeah, we've got Sturm to get to here. So basically, Pafos is the play from Will. Sturm, to me, this is a nightmare because obviously it's 5-0 from the first leg here. I mean, what did Bodo do? I mean, their XG was 2.78. They did deserve to win. Steve and yourself were really bullish about Bodo. They're plus 170. Sturm have been bet because when I was putting my notes together for this one, they were plus 143. They're now plus 133. Bodo have drifted out a little bit. They don't, obviously, states the obvious, don't need to win here. And I don't think any team has ever come back from 5-0 in a European game in a two-legged affair to go on and qualify. We've seen 4-0, haven't we? But no one's ever come back. I did see 66 Sturm to qualify, or 6,600. But I mean, I've got a very small lean, but Will, you have got more significant thoughts on this one. Do you expect Sturm to win? Do you expect Bodo to sort of sit back and soak it up and think, well, if we get beat 2-0, it's not an issue?
I don't know, to be honest with you. It could go one or two ways, you know. They could either be massively up for it, crowd massively up for the remontada, manager massively up for it, players massively up for it, or they could be going through the motions. It's hard to really know. I tried to look for some comments from the manager, and he did say that they were up for it and they wanted to turn it around, etc., etc. But how much do they actually believe that? How much will they believe that if they're 1-0 down after 30 minutes, or it's 0-0 after 30 minutes? You know, it's hard to say. So, like you say, it's a really tough one to call. You know, Steve and I were bullish Bodo in the first leg, but they've got a massive home advantage. You know, they play on the artificial pitch, and their record in Europe at home is phenomenal. This is a completely different tie, or completely different leg or match. And the market shifted from -1.25 that day, where it ended up to, it's now draw no bet Sturm Graz, and they've been backed a little bit. So that full 1.25 goal swing in the handicap is a lot. Obviously, there's some kind of game state in there somehow as well. Seems to be favouring Sturm Graz here. And when I was thinking about this match initially, I was favouring Sturm Graz on the Tino bets. But it's hard to know what their attitude's going to be. I think... I don't think Sturm Graz are that bad. I'll say that. They did take 6 points at home in last season's Champions League group stage. They beat Girona and Leipzig. So, you know, they've got something about them. I would be leaning Sturm Graz on the Tino bets, but I'd want to see lineups first. And maybe it's one for in running. Maybe it's one to see how up for it the crowd are. You know, how hard they're pushing, how up for it the teams seem to be, and take it from there and look to get on Sturm Graz on the Tino bet then. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I just, it's so difficult because of that first leg advantage. I mean, you could have periods in the game. If Sturm score early, the crowd will be up, and there will be a sort of, you know, a little bit of belief, and then there might be a 7 or 8 minute period where they don't follow it up, and suddenly you're 29, 34 minutes in and it's still 1-0. And then into the second half, it goes 2-0 and there's a little bit of, this could be on, and then nothing happens. I think it's a very, very difficult... I mean, 5-0 is such a huge scoreline. But they have been beaten 5-0 in Europe before, but you're going back 26 years when they were beaten by Werder Bremen. And it's, you know, Bodo's just a completely different club. I mean, Steve will talk about Bodo all day long. And incidentally, Steve's got a pick on the newsletter for all.
Is it overs by any chance?
I don't know what it is. I'd have to dig out my newsletter. If you've subscribed, you will get Steve's pick in this one. I mean, Zolo is saying both teams score over 2.5, minus 128. You know, will Bodo sit back, look to try and soak up pressure, hit them on the break potentially? How good a Sturm up against a low block? I think it's going to be a long night. I mean, there's no way they're going to turn it around. I mean, Bodo have scored in the last 16. I mean, that, you know, they're good for a goal, aren't they? Both teams' score is like that minus 200, I think, isn't it? I don't know if we've got it on the graphic. Yeah, minus 230. I mean, you don't get both teams to score yes at minus 230 every day of the week. That's incredibly short.
Yeah.
You've got to get a bit creative.
Yeah. I see the chats confirmed that Steve's pick is on the overs.
Yeah.
I mean, it does scream overs, but I'd much rather be on the overs if it was 2-1 on aggregate than 5-0.
Yeah.
Because at 5-0, you are running the risk that both teams kind of go through the motions.
Shoulders go down, exactly, 100%.
But then the flip side of that is, if both teams don't really, well, of course they care, but if they're not really that up for it, it could kind of turn into a friendly. And then, sometimes friendlies are open, right? So maybe we've got to take it at face value. And, if you get 3 it's a high line, but not really that high for Bodo. I'm sure Steve has a lot of wisdom in the newsletter. So if you haven't read it, go and read it. I purposefully haven't looked at it myself because I didn't want Steve's wisdom to seep into my own thoughts on the game. But yeah,
I mean, as you said, I mean, if the Asian line is 3, is it, or is it? What's the? Yeah, it must be. So, 3 and you get pushed. I mean, that seems, almost free hit-ish. But then again, it's 0-0 at half time, and then the game just completely peters out.
Maybe we get on a goal scorer then, Dan. Maybe we look at. I had the pick.
Herg is the one, isn't he? Casper Herg. He's scored in 7 of his last 9 in total. He's minus 112. That's from a Bodo point of view. I mean, it's strange, isn't it? Sturm are favourites here, but Herg is the short price favourite anytime goal scorer by an absolute mile at minus 112. Solis and Hauger have both been scoring recently. I've not got any sort of line in when it comes to the Sturm players here.
I'll probably be looking. The one I've got in my notes is William Burving. I think he's, just because he's a big price. Well, not just because he's a big price, but I think he's plus 310. It might even be bigger than that. But just a feeling about Burving. He's a good player. And let's have a look. What is he? He is. Where is he?
I'm just looking at the top goal scorers from last season. None of them. I mean, the likes of Yatta and Burving haven't scored this season. Burving scored an own goal last week.
Yeah. Well, that's the reason it's plus 310 and not minus 112. My God. I look at it at bigger prices. It's a high expectancy goal game. Obviously, you've got one standout favourite who's minus money, but everyone else is pretty much plus 200 and above. So
I guess. I mean, just looking at some numbers now. Kiteshvili, who looks like he's on penalty, scored a penalty against Lask in the opening weekend of the season. He's got 4 in 3 domestically, scored 12 last season, hasn't scored in Europe.
He'd be my second pick.
Yeah, plus 260. Maybe we could get with him for a little bit of pizza money, to coin a phrase. So,
well, if you Dutch him and Burving, you basically you're still getting a bigger price than you are if you go with Hug. Yeah. How do you pronounce Hug?
Herg. I'm going to go Herg.
If you go with Herg. So I'd rather have those 2 from Sturm Graz than that, than one Bodo player. Well, incidentally, the Kairat Celtic lineups are out, and the Kairat changed the goalkeeper. They've gone for Anabekov instead of Zarutsky. So I'm not sure whether that's an injury. And they've also left out Ed Mielsen, who's quite an influential player for them. So I don't know what the thoughts are there, whether they've got some last-minute injuries, but they are a little bit weaker. They changed the goalkeeper. Under 2.75 might be under threat.
Anabekov came on in the first leg, played the last.
Oh, was Zarutsky injured then?
Yeah, played the last 16 minutes. So maybe he's still out, and they didn't play at the weekend. I'm presuming Ed Mielsen is up front. Is he playing?
Ed Mielsen, he's been replaced by not a player I'm familiar with, Marinsky. Are you familiar with Marinsky?
No.
Neither am I, but
I've got him down as a defender on my stat sheet here. But
it feels like they've perhaps gone slightly more defensive.
Defensive, yeah. Well, whoever said PKs, get on 0-0.
Yeah.
What have we got here? Brad says, morning Brad. Tristan says, any insights on the mentality of the managers of these teams? Our research goes very far, Tristan, but not into the mentality of the Sturm Graz coach. I'm sorry, I can't offer that. But it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because
I did actually have a look, and
no quotes or few.
I mean, it was just the usual kind of spiel. He's not going to come out and say we've given up, is he? So he's come out and said that they want to turn it around, which is what you'd expect. But let's wait and see how they actually look on the pitch.
We'll recap the Champions League in just a sec, but just to have a quick look, I know that people like to bet on the League Cup. This is in England, obviously. A lot of the ties are on the Bet Rivers app here. Look, these are so hard because we just don't know the lineups. Everywhere I've looked suggests that Wolves, West Ham, Bournemouth, and Brentford coaches will rotate. Tend to think that the top one will, and I looked at the prices for the top two from last season. They're almost identical to when they played in the Premier League, both the Wolves West Ham game. The Bournemouth Brentford game pretty much is. They played in March. Obviously, different coach for Brentford, and they were minus 137 on the stat sheet that I've got, and the minus 136 here. Bournemouth Brentford won that game 2-1. And Wolves West Ham here. I think Wolves won that meeting 1-0 last time that they played, and Wolves were a little bit bigger. They're about plus 125. Wolves and West Ham both need a win. Graham Potter, I would think, would be less likely to rotate, or at least play the strongest team that he believes. Vitor Pereira might be a little bit more throwaway with his Wolves lineup, and they're coming for Strand Larsen at the minute by the looks of things. Any thoughts in those top two first up, Will, or is it just so related to lineups?
Yeah, I think the EFL Cup's all about lineups, isn't it? And you've got to try and do your best to, if you've got an insight into a team and a manager, like you said, with Potter and Pereira, I would agree with you. I think Potter is slightly less likely to rotate just because, well, he kind of needs a win. So does Pereira, but it seems to be a negative vibe around West Ham and Potter at the moment. And also they played on Friday, so they've got an extra day's rest. But the money is coming for Wolves, and normally in the Cup, when you see money coming for a team, more often than not, it's some insider basically has got information about the team. And so I'd be wary of either a stronger than expected Wolves or a weaker than expected West Ham here. But when Wolves were plus 140-ish that they were this morning, I fancied them on the Tino bet, really. I just think, if you look at the benches, I think Wolves is probably a little bit stronger with the likes of Andre, Hwang, Rodrigo Gomez, Fer Lopez, new signing. West Ham don't have a very deep squad this season, so they might have a few kind of under 21s or prospects in their starting 11 if they do rotate.
Actually, I mean, Skulls might play. I mean, not an under 21, not by any stretch, but Callum Wilson might play. Yeah, because he's come on as a sub. I find it difficult. I think Potter needs a result. How you quantify that in terms of price, I don't know, because bad teams are bad teams. Just because they need a win, they can still be pretty poor, can't they? I just tend to think that Potter might just take it a little bit more seriously, but it's a game that I won't be getting involved in. Same with the Bournemouth one,
Bournemouth, I'm kind of tempted in by Brentford plus 3/4. Again, caveat here is money's come for Bournemouth, so maybe somebody knows something, but I don't know. Like I know Bournemouth have got quite a few players back from injury, the likes of Christie and Kluivert, but so have Brentford. And Brentford look a little bit deeper to me. So if you do assume both teams are fully rotate here, I think Brentford plus 3/4 is interesting. It's a cup tie at the end of the day. There's a lot of variables there that we don't really know. And I think that levels the playing field a little bit. So plus a half, I think, would be fairer. So I've got a bit of a lean on Brentford plus 3/4.
Always think as well that Keith Andrews will want to keep a bit of momentum from the win. No one really expected them to win at the weekend, although I think the last time we were on the show, you said, look, don't forget what Matthew Benham does. Don't forget that Brentford will have a plan. And although people were very down them after the match day one defeat at Forest, to come back and beat Villa, we're not quite sure what sort of state Villa are at the moment, but it's still a good result, a really good result for him, because I think he was under pressure from the get-go. So I don't know, he might want to try and keep that going. And Iraola, I always think that, a lot of coaches, that, they don't know what a League Cup is. I mean, Portuguese do, because Portugal do have a League Cup, but Spanish, they'll just think, what's this? Another competition? Do we really want it? And Bournemouth, you always think, well, surely they could win a League Cup, but I think they got knocked out very early, didn't they, last season? Just checking, this stage last season, they got beat at West Ham, and they did rotate an awful lot. I did look at the team earlier today. So,
I got a lot of flack, Dan, last week when there seemed to be quite a few Villa fans in the chat, and I thought that Villa plus 115 was very short against Brentford, and it got a lot of flack. I think Brentford. I think it's more Brentford are being underrated than Villa are overrated. But you don't bet against Matthew Benham, basically. So that would be my feelings in regards to Brentford. And I think if you look at their squad, they're deeper than you would think.
Brad Bestfoot says goals in Barnsley, Rotherham, Norwich, Southampton, Bromley, Wickham. Those are my guesses without confirmation of the lineups. Paqueta news not good for West Ham. Is he out? I presume that's the news that you're telling us, Brad, for that one. Just one other game that we did have on our graphic there as well, which we have got a little bit of a thought on here. Sheffield Wednesday against Leeds United. Wednesday are plus 1,600. Leeds are minus 770. Henrik Pedersen has come out and basically said, yeah, we're going to play the kids again. They played them against Bolton, incredibly won on penalties. Was it a 3-3 draw? In the end, Bolton had a player sent off just before the half hour, but there were 5 players making the professional debut. 9 players who were under 21 or 21 or under. I mean, if he plays them again, they could get absolutely hammered, or they could show the same sort of resilience that they showed in that Bolton game. And indeed, if there's a few senior players, will, against Wrexham at the weekend, they were 2-0 down, they drew 2-2. I'm tempting to think Leeds is second string and sort of mix and match, having watched them at the weekend, and the likes of Nemecha came on, and 1 or 2 others came on who looked quite good. I mean, Pio, is it, I can't remember the Udinese defender who they signed. Bijol. He probably going to make his debut. He was a regular in Serie A last season. You know, the squad players that Leeds have got, I think, are all right. And
what about Noah Okafor?
Yeah, but this is it. I mean, Okafor's probably going to start, isn't he?
Yeah, you know, Dominic Calvert-Lewin
could start. Nemecha could start.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Premier League, deep Premier League squad. All Premier League squads need to be deep these days.
Yeah.
Against a very...
Charlie's just said, Charlie says, Sheffield Wednesday back 4 against Bolton, 19, 18, 18 and 20. They do that again.
It's very sad what's happened at Sheffield Wednesday. Decimated in every way imaginable over the summer. Lost their manager, had a transfer embargo from the EFL, financial meltdown. Then they lost the goalkeeper. They've had an emergency loan goalkeeper in. Like, they are truly decimated. And then for the cup, like you said, they basically played the under-21s. They won off 2-goal underdogs against Bolton, and they're 2.25 goal underdogs here against Leeds, albeit at home. You know, for reference, Leeds were -0.5 in this fixture in the Championship a year ago, almost to the day.
And what are they
and they're -2.25 here. But like you say, like, Leeds are very, very deep. You can't get involved in a handicap. I just can't personally. But if you go in the anytime goal scorer market, I don't mind Dominic Calvert-Lewin plus 128. I think he'll definitely start, and he'll be the main man. He'll lead the line. And if you compare that with Hogg, for example, you know, in a very equal game away from home for Bodo Glimt, -118, and then Calvert-Lewin as a 2.25 goal favourite leading the line plus 128. I know who I'd rather be with, and it's Calvert-Lewin. And then another, if he starts, it actually wasn't listed on Bet Rivers when I looked earlier. They'll probably end up listing him if he does start here. It's Noah Okafor. I think he's always been a player I've quite liked, especially when he was at Salzburg. Didn't really get much of a go at Milan. But that's his caliber. And if he's anywhere around plus 200, be also interesting. But I like Calvert-Lewin. Unfortunately, he'll probably only get 60, 70 minutes if he does start. But plus 128 seems quite big to me, especially if it's the back line, you know, 18, 18, 19, 20, as Charlie says.
Yeah. As a former Sheffield United striker as well, he won't mind scoring against Wednesday. Maybe he will a little bit because Wednesday are in a bad way in a minute. But, you know, that rivalry runs a little bit deep. Yeah, Okafor's interesting. Came on at the weekend at Arsenal. He's a good player. I mean, Napoli signed him because they thought he could give them a little bit of lift when Kvaratskhelia left for PSG, but he didn't quite work out, even though he did end up with a Scudetto, didn't he, last season? But yeah, he's a quality player. There's no doubt about that. Right, let's just have a quick final look at the Comments, what do we got here? Duncan says, lump on Wickham. It all starts tonight for Dodd's Mighty Blue Army. RZ, we need Will's League Cup leans. We'll rattle through them again in just a second. Yeah, Brad talking about Sheffield Wednesday. It should be goals in the Wednesday Leeds game, according to him. So he likes that as well. Ray says, Wolves West Ham under 2.5. In terms of where the money's going for these League Cup games, yeah, most of the money on West Ham. 77% of the money on West Ham, 51% tickets on Wolves. For the Bournemouth game, most of the money on Bournemouth and over. And for that Wednesday Leeds game, yeah, all the money on Leeds, and most on overs as well. Both teams to score is hitting 3 Sheffield Wednesday's last 4 matches across all competition. I've seen BTTS, yes, tipped in a few places with that. Maybe they've got enough just to get one against Leeds. I tend to think Leeds might win fairly easily. I text Jack Wright. He's usually across all League Cup. He gave me a couple to watch out for. Charlton at Cambridge around about -118. And sorry about this, Duncan. This is from Jack, not me. Don't at me. Bromley are value at home to Wickham at +250, says Jack. Not me. That's from Jack. Don't shoot the messenger. Let's have a quick recap. Will, Champions League, what do you like? What are your main plays? What are your leans?
Champions League, so under 2 3/4 in the Kairat Celtic game.
Was that being main bet of the day? Main bet?
No, no.
Fine.
Main bet's probably Calvert-Lewin, anytime goal scorer for Leeds. But in the Champions League, yeah, it's either that under 2 3/4 in Kairat Celtic or the Pafos +0.5, which was my other bet, and then a lean Sturm Graz on the Tino bet. Maybe we get a slightly better price towards kickoff. Definitely watch the first 5 minutes and see how up for it Sturm Graz are. But that's the lean, if anything, there. And then EFL Cup, I did lean Wolves plus on the Tino bet, but that's been backed in, so probably leave it alone now. A lean on Brentford. Yeah, +3/4 away at Bournemouth. I mean, this may all needs to be looked at again after lineups, but this is at the current state of play, assuming full rotation for most of the Premier League teams. Brentford +3/4, and then Calvert-Lewin, anytime goal scorer, maybe a bit of pizza money on Okafor. If the Bet Rivers traders get the lineup before kickoff, please.
Brilliant. I'm sure it will be there. Watch out for Okafor in that particular game. Still to come, got the tennis, US Open continuing. Nigel and Rory going to be in the chair just over an hour's time. Hardball is Doug and Albert today. Fast break is Sarah and Doug. Sarah's been in great form. Last 5 picks have all won. So plenty to come across the Betting Weekly channels. That is your lot from myself and Will. Have a very good betting night tonight. Many thanks to everyone for joining in. We're back again tomorrow for more Champions League and League Cup fun. Have a good night tonight.